Now it's time for SummerSlam with 10 big matches booked, including 7 colossal championship clashes. Or if you looked at our Rumors video, it could be 6. Be sure to check that out if you can. But in the meantime, join us now as we look at the winners and losers of this year's SummerSlam pay-per-view. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now we start off with the match that may not even happen, as SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair takes on Sasha Banks. Belair has done a good job as champion since defeating Banks at WrestleMania 37, but the WWE is focused on other challenges since then. Now the boss has her chance to regain the gold and show the fans that Belair's win was just a fluke. Regardless of who wins the match, the fans should be the winners, as both women have shown how good they are, not only against each other but a variety of opponents. The only question is now whether the match will take place, as rumour has it that both women may be unable to compete this Saturday. Really, it's so weird that a pay-per-view is coming on Saturday rather than Sunday. I guess all us UK fans are rejoicing. That could explain the addition of 2 new matches to the card, but if the match does take place, look for Belair to retain and set things up for a rematch down the line. Our final prediction, Bianca Belair retains. Next up is a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship, as champion Nikki A.S.H takes on Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. Now, despite a brief surge from Nikki A.S.'s successful Money in the Bank cash-in, the Raw Women's Championship has been more tepid than ever, and fans have been hoping that the WWE starts to book Nikki A.S.H better than they have, especially if they expect to get her over as a strong babyface. This match could help A.S.H if she's booked to look competitive, and we believe this will happen, with A.S.H getting the Duke and hopefully transforming into a true champion rather than an accidental one. In a perfect world, the WWE would have fresh challengers waiting for A.S.H to defend her title against, but with Asuka MIA, it's difficult to think of anyone even close to the main event right now, short of Becky Lynch finally returning. Now, even though Nikki A.S.H will retain, and that's our final prediction, we do feel that we'll finally see the return of Becky Lynch come out and square up against Nikki A.S.H, or even Charlotte Flair, who's just taken a beating and a loss. No doubt this will garner a huge pop from the crowd. WWE will be stupid to waste such an opportunity. Next up, a SmackDown Tag Team Championship, as champions Jey and Jimmy Uso take on the Mysterios. The WWE has 2 purposes with this match. Number 1, to continue the Usos' dominance in the tag team division, and number 2, to continue the slow but inevitable breakup between Papa Ray and Dominic Mysterio. Look for the Mysterios to have a match won only for Dominic to make a rookie mistake, leading to Ray admonishing him and further fracturing their relationship. Fans could also count on both teams finding a way to somehow top their previously excellent Tag Team Championship match. But our final prediction, the Usos retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Next up, it's the Raw Tag Team Championship match, as champions AJ and Omos take on RKBro. The team of Styles and Omos continues to improve each week, as the big men show gradual signs of improvement in the ring, a sign that he could have a good singles career ahead of him if he can stay in shape and avoid any injuries. While Styles and Omos have dominated the tag ranks on Raw, the team of RK-Bro looks ready, having apparently resolved any issues Randy Orton had with his unlikely tag partner and poised to capture the tag team titles. While the WWE could go with the predictable route of having Orton turn on Riddle at SummerSlam, and that would be one of the ways to keep the belts on Omos and AJ, there's more money in keeping them together until an inevitable split after the Viper comes to his senses and then realizes he doesn't need to team with a guy like the Ultimate Bro as he tries to end his career. But look for Orton and Riddle to capture the titles, as fans bet on how long until Riddle eats a punk kick. We would say RKO, but he's already eaten one of those. But our final prediction, RK-Bro win the Raw Tag Team titles. Next up, Seth Rollins vs Edge. Now, one of SummerSlam's dream match involves WWE Hall of Famer Edge and the man Edge is dubbed Edge Light, aka Seth Rollins. While Rollins is anything but a poor man's version of the rated R superstar, it's clear Edge has managed to get into Rollins' head as they prepare for one of the most anticipated matches on the card. Barring any unfortunate injuries, this should be a fantastic bout, as Edge looks to show he hasn't lost a step in the ring, and Rollins embarks on the beginning of his campaign for the Universal Championship. While Edge has the goods to get the job done, Rollins' sheer vindictiveness and well-documented ability to steal a win will get him the Duke this time around. This is definitely a case where either man could emerge victorious, but the WWE has too much invested in Seth as a full-time wrestler to have him lose to Edge this time around. Our final prediction, Seth Rollins wins the match. Next up, it's the US Championship match between champion Sheamus vs Damian Priest. Sheamus has a remarkable turnaround ever since capturing the US Championship, going from a mid-card menace to a dominant second-tier champion. The Celtic Warrior was beginning to look like he was headed for main event after a number of losses in 2020 and early 2021, but he's been invincible as US champion so far. Now Sheamus hasn't been a fighting champion, but that's not part of his gimmick. He's an arrogant champion who avoids the title defenses whenever possible, bullying weaker opponents in order to make himself look good. Enter Damian Priest, who's been looking stronger than ever since his main roster debut this year and high-profile match at WrestleMania 37 alongside Bad Bunny against John Morrison and The Miz. The Archer of Infamy has the goods to defeat Sheamus for the belt, but this program is too good to end with just one title match, so look for Sheamus to steal a win, setting things up for a pay-per-view rematch. Our final prediction, Sheamus retains the US Championship. Next up we have Drew McIntyre vs Jinder Mahal. Now this match has been years in the making, and it'll finally take place at SummerSlam as Drew McIntyre seeks revenge on the modern-day Maharaja for spoiling his win at last month's Money in the Bank ladder match. You may recall it looked like the WWE wanted to pit Mahal against McIntyre in 2020 following McIntyre's first championship win, but Mahal's latest injury put him on ice until recently. While this match doesn't have any championship stakes, it could be good, especially since you never know when Mahal's henchmen are lurking about. Nonetheless, the idea of Drew McIntyre losing to Jinder Mahal is preposterous and would serve no long-term benefit for Mahal short of a complete change in his push, something similar to 2018 when he went from jobber to champion in just 6 months. Now we don't see anything happening, and while Drew McIntyre may be out of the championship picture for the time being, he's not putting Jinder Mahal over. Our final prediction, McIntyre wins. Next up, it's Eva Marie with Doudrop versus Alexa Bliss. Now we don't know what's worse. Number one, having Eva Marie on a match at SummerSlam whilst wrestlers like Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Ricochet and Jeff Hardy or Big E are back in catering, or the realization that Alexa Bliss's already awful Fiend-like character is now battling arguably the WWE's least talented in-ring performer. With any luck, Bliss will suddenly gain the energies needed to transform Eva Marie into a frog, and the evolution will hop off into the Nevada desert. This one is going to be a pure disaster and a reminder of how the WWE took one of its most over characters, the Fiend, and foolishly thought they'd replace him with a gothic girl knockoff. Now I know this isn't as bad as fake Razor and Diesel, but it's kinda close. Next up, it's the WWE Championship match as champion Bobby Lashley, who's with MVP, takes on Bill Goldberg. And while there's a strong case to be made that the WWE Universe would much rather see Brock Lesnar battle the Almighty than Goldberg, the WWE is apparently saving any future appearances by Lesnar for WrestleMania. I expect this match to be short and sweet as Goldberg rarely wrestles more than 3 to 4 minutes, and that's for the best as he shows no sign of improving his work. Don't be surprised if they go with a screwjob ending that involves Bill having to sacrifice his win in order to save his son from MVP or Lashley. Our final prediction, Bobby Lashley retains the WWE Championship. And finally, it's now time for the main event as Universal Champion Roman Reigns, who's with Paul Heyman, takes on John Cena. And what's particularly interesting about this match is how Roman Reigns' incredible transformation over the last year has turned what once would have been a decent match into a dream match, even though these guys have wrestled in the past. A factor in John Cena's lengthy absence from the WWE, and the fans are ready to cheer Cena on against Reigns. Cena's renewed energy on the mic, coupled with the reportedly unscripted promos between Reigns and Cena, have turned this one into one of the best build-ups for the match since the lead into WrestleMania 37. On paper, this match should be all about John Cena continuing the build-up for the Tribal Chief as he becomes the latest challenger to come up short against Reigns. However, there's another factor at play, Mr. McMahon's vindictiveness and his wish to stick it to Nature Boy Ric Flair by having Cena win his 17th World Championship, thus breaking the tie he shares with Ric Flair, at least by WWE's calculations, and becoming 17-time world champion. In case you haven't been following the news, Flair left the WWE recently and many people believe he's headed to AEW. Look for Cena to defeat the head of the table, becoming Universal Champion and giving Reigns some much needed comeuppance. However, Cena won't be holding the belt for long and Reigns will have it back sooner rather than later. Our final prediction, John Cena wins the Universal Championship. What do you guys think? Do you agree with the predictions or not? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.